When you focus on yourself and stay quiet, everything slowly falls into place. Most people lose their power by giving it away, explaining themselves, proving themselves, reacting to everything around them. But silence, real silence, is strength. When you stop explaining yourself to the world and start focusing on yourself, everything shifts. You begin to move with clarity, your energy sharpens, and the world starts responding, not because you forced it, but because your presence demands it. Stay silent, stay grounded, focus inward, and you'll realize the more still you become, the more everything around you begins to align. Energy containment. You will lose yourself if you keep giving yourself away to everyone. If your attention belongs to the world, you no longer belong to yourself. And most people don't even notice because it happens quietly, slowly, one text at a time, one apology at a time, one distraction at a time, until one day they wake up tired, anxious, resentful, and they don't know why. But the reason is simple. Their life is being lived for everyone else. Their time, their energy, their emotions given away to people who don't even value their own. When your energy is scattered, so is your direction. So is your discipline. So is your soul. Because you simply can't be everywhere for everyone and still remain anchored within yourself, grounded in who you truly are. Most people live in reaction. They react to messages, to moods, to the opinions of strangers, to obligations they never questioned, to conversations that drain them. From the moment they wake up, their mind is on someone else's agenda. They check their phone before they check their breath. They respond to the world before they've returned to themselves. And so their thoughts aren't theirs, their priorities aren't theirs, their feelings aren't theirs. They are puppets pulled by invisible strings, trying to keep everyone else satisfied while quietly losing their own strength. And that's why they feel empty. That's why they feel exhausted. That's why they burn out. Not because they're lazy, not because they're weak, but because they've been leaking energy for years, giving themselves away in small, constant, unconscious ways. And here's the truth that most don't want to admit. You cannot build anything if you're constantly being pulled away from yourself. You cannot lead. You cannot create. You cannot command. You cannot heal if every time you find your rhythm, you're interrupted by someone else's chaos. You need focus. You need space. You need real silence. Not because you're selfish, but because you're serious about what you're building. The first real discipline is learning how to hold your energy. Not just physically, but energetically, mentally, emotionally. That means you stop explaining yourself to people who don't want to understand. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes to feel needed. You stop overextending yourself for those who treat their life like a mess and expect you to clean it up. You learn to say no without any guilt attached. You learn to be quiet without apology. You learn to protect your morning like it's your mission, because it truly is, every single day. You stop being so available, not because you're cold, but because you finally realized your energy is currency and you've been spending it on the wrong things. This is the shift. You stop chasing connection and you start honoring direction. You return to your breath. You sit in your body. You make conscious decisions instead of emotional reactions. You start moving through life with presence, not performance. And yes, the world will misunderstand you. They'll call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. They'll try to pull you back into their drama. But let them talk. You're not here to be consumed by the chaos. You're here to become something clear, something sharp, something focused. You're here to build a life that belongs to you, not to everyone else's needs. This is not selfish. This is survival. This is sovereignty. And the moment you finally start protecting your energy like your life depends on it, you'll realize that it always did. every single day of your life. Quiet power. Powerful people don't speak much, not because they have nothing to say, but because they know exactly when to say it and exactly when to hold back. In a world that rewards noise, volume, and visibility, the truly powerful move in silence. Their presence alone says what others try to explain in 1,000 words. Words are cheap. They can be borrowed, repeated, manipulated. But presence is costly. It must be earned, built, lived. And when it's real, when a person's energy is fully aligned with their purpose and their direction in life, they no longer need to talk about it. They move differently. They enter a room and something shifts, not because of what they say, but because of who they are. The louder someone speaks, the less they usually control. It's not hard to notice. You see it in the one who constantly interrupts, constantly postures, constantly needs to be the smartest, the funniest, the most noticed. That's not confidence. That's fear wearing a mask. Because real strength doesn't chase approval. It doesn't need to perform. It doesn't shout to be heard. It exists with such depth that silence becomes more powerful than sound. You can feel this when a man walks into the room and doesn't say a word, yet everyone notices. That's not charisma. That's alignment. He knows himself. He governs himself. And because of that, the world slows down when he arrives. Weak people always need to be seen, to be heard, to be liked. Their words are constant because their identity is uncertain. But the one who has cultivated stillness, who has trained his attention, mastered his energy, owned his path, doesn't waste a single syllable. He doesn't try to prove he's in control. He is in control, and everyone feels it. This is the paradox of it all. The less you need attention, the more of it you naturally get. Not because you're trying to attract anyone, but because the human nervous system is wired to seek leadership, stability, direction. And we find that not in noise, but in the energy of someone who speaks only when it counts. Start watching your words like you watch your money. Don't spend them everywhere. Don't pour them into people who haven't earned your attention. Don't use them to fill silence just because you're uncomfortable. Speak when it matters. Speak when it serves. Speak not to be liked, but to be clear. The most powerful sentence is the one that doesn't need to be followed by a justification. Clean, no. A sharp instruction, a brief observation. That's how real leadership sounds. Not with fluff or filler, but with weight. And that weight doesn't come from volume. It comes from alignment between your words and your life. When people know you mean what you say, you don't need to say it twice. Most people speak just to be liked. Trained men speak to direct, to guide, to lead. They speak from a place of stillness, not from a place of insecurity. And when they're done speaking, they return to movement, intentional, grounded movement. This rhythm of silence, clarity, precision is what creates influence that lasts. It's not built on hype. It's not built on charm. It's built on trust. And trust is built slowly, over time, when people know you don't need them to validate you. That's when they start listening, really listening, with full attention, because they're not responding to your performance. They're responding to your essence, and your essence doesn't need noise. This kind of power doesn't come from theory. It comes from discipline, from saying less, from observing more, from removing the need to explain your every move, from knowing exactly where you stand and refusing to move for attention. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you train your system. Every time you speak only what's needed, your words grow heavier. And over time, people lean in when you talk, not out of habit, but out of respect, because you've shown them something rare, restraint in a world of excess. That quiet energy of silence and certainty is what turns chaos into clarity. It's what cuts through noise. It's what commands a room without even trying. Not because you're the loudest voice in it, but because you're the clearest. And clarity is magnetic, pulls people in. Presence is remembered long after words are gone. Words, they fade with time, but presence always stays. Inner mastery. You'll never win the world until you fully master your own inner state. That's the law, plain and simple. And no matter how many books you read, how many people you impress, or how many goals you chase, nothing will ever change that truth. Control doesn't begin outside of you. It begins inside, quietly, where no one else can see it. The world teaches you to chase control through money, recognition, attraction, and status. But what good is any of it if your mind is still filled with chaos? If your emotions stay reactive, if your confidence disappears the very moment something doesn't go your way. External success without internal sovereignty is just noise, and the world is already full of it. Real power is silent. It's internal order. It's the clarity of a man who has faced his own mind and didn't flinch. If your thoughts control you, if your mood owns your behavior, if every piece of criticism makes you shrink, you haven't yet earned leadership. You haven't yet become the man the world or any woman can truly trust. Because mastery is never the result of force. It's always the result of cleaning your own inner house, slowly and honestly. Sitting in silence until your own patterns finally surface. Observing the impulses, the insecurity, the addiction to noise. And instead of reacting, you breathe, you remain. You learn how to hold your fire without letting it burn everything down. And when you finally choose silence, something strange happens. Not right away, not dramatically, but deeply. You begin to see yourself, not the version you perform, not the mask you've worn to get by, but the raw version, the one you've ignored through distraction, the one that never got your full attention. And in that moment, if you choose to stay instead of run, everything changes. You stop blaming, you stop justifying, you stop escaping, you face what is. And in doing so, you begin to become the man you were always meant to be, not because the world gave you permission, but because you took responsibility, full personal responsibility. The world is chaotic, loud, fast, aggressive, but you don't need to match that. Same noise. You don't need to become louder just to be heard. You don't need to become more intense just to be taken seriously. You only need to rise calmly above it all, not by dominance, but by awareness. The man who can remain still while everyone else panics, he leads. The man who speaks slowly while others shout and rush, he influences. The man who watches his own mind carefully before judging others, he understands. This kind of power is invisible to the untrained, but undeniable to the few who truly feel it. When you focus on yourself with full intensity, when you treat your inner world like sacred ground, you begin to take back control. Your posture slowly changes, not as an act you're putting on, but as a genuine reflection of your new alignment. You walk differently, you breathe differently, more calmly than before. Your thoughts sharpen, not because you're trying to be impressive, but because you've cleared the fog. The weight you've been carrying isn't lifted by more ambition. It's lifted by more truth. And truth only comes when you're willing to stop running from your own silence. That's the shift. You stop begging for peace. You stop looking for validation. You stop chasing calm. You start becoming it. You carry it with you. People notice it. Women feel it. Not because you've said a word, but because your nervous system is speaking first. And that kind of energy changes rooms. It changes relationships. It changes outcomes. Master your breath. Master your attention. Master your reactions. Not once daily, not perfectly, but consistently. That's how you earn inner command. And when you earn that, everything external starts to fall into place. Not because life gets easier, but because you're no longer wasting energy on what doesn't matter. You stop reacting to the world. You start directing it. And that's when you win quietly. Sacred silence. Silence is the greatest filter you will ever know. Not because it punishes others, but because it purifies your life. When you go silent, when you stop over-explaining, stop over-giving, stop over-showing, something powerful happens. The noise falls away. Fake people leave. Weak habits fall off. The masks around you start to crack. And the truth underneath it all begins to surface. You don't even need to call anyone out. You don't need to start arguments. You don't need to explain your distance. Just stop talking. Stop feeding what doesn't feed you. Stop chasing conversations that drain you. Stop proving yourself to people who don't even see you. That's the beauty of silence. It reveals everything. It separates the ones who were there for your energy from the ones who were there for your benefits. It shows you who respected your presence and who only tolerated you because of what you gave them. And once the performing ends, so do the illusions. Most people won't survive your silence. They were never real to begin with. They were only holding on because you were giving, entertaining, validating, or showing up in ways that served them. The moment that supply stops, they vanish. Let them. That's how it's supposed to be. And yes, at first this truly hurts. It's painful to realize just how much of your life was built on unspoken transactions. How many people were only using your attention as a resource. How many habits were quietly keeping you distracted from your own emptiness. But that pain is a gift because it shows you where your energy was leaking, where your time was being wasted, where your focus was being hijacked by things that looked like connection but weren't. And once those leaks are fully exposed, you begin the real work, rebuilding, slowly, cleanly, and deliberately, one honest step at a time. Because the fewer people you truly need, the more powerful you naturally become. This doesn't mean isolation. It means clarity. It means your self-worth no longer depends on external applause. It means your emotional stability no longer depends on being needed, liked, or approved. It means your calendar becomes your boundary, your presence becomes your protection, and your space, internal and external, becomes sacred. No more clutter, no more chaos, no more pretending to feel good around people who never valued you. You stop giving energy to anything that dilutes your direction. This is where power begins, not in noise, not in dominance, not in control, but in restraint, in the quiet refusal to keep participating in things that no longer serve your growth, in the discipline to be still when everything in you wants to react, in the decision to sit with your silence long enough to hear the truth that noise always buried. And when you reach that depth, when you can be fully alone without feeling empty, when you no longer need to perform to feel seen, something shifts. Your focus sharpens. Your breath deepens. You start thinking clearly again. You start choosing again. You start creating from clarity instead of reacting from chaos. And the world responds because silence is magnetic. It draws the real and repels the fake. It protects your energy by default. It reveals your power without announcement. And it gives you something no relationship, no possession, and no achievement ever truly can: alignment. Nothing external can ever give you that. Only silence can. Focused motion. You're not behind. You're just too distracted. That's the real truth no one says out loud. Most people aren't failing because they lack potential or talent. They're failing simply because their attention is fractured. They wake up already overstimulated every single morning. Their minds are full before their feet even hit the floor. A screen, a sound, a voice, a worry, all pulling them in different directions before their breath even settles. It's not failure, it's noise. It's overcommitment. It's the absence of intentional focus. Discipline has become rare, not because it's impossible, but because distraction is easier. And in a world that celebrates movement, most people confuse motion with progress. They're always reacting, always comparing themselves to others, always checking who's ahead, who's winning faster, who's getting more praise, who's talking about them behind their back. They look around more than they look within. But none of that comparison builds momentum. None of that watching moves you forward. It only steals your energy quietly, consistently, until you feel exhausted, and yet you haven't even taken a real step toward your own goal. Here's the shift you need to make. Stop chasing the pace of others around you. Start respecting the rhythm of your own personal path. When you begin focusing only on your very next step, everything around you slowly changes. Progress becomes much simpler. You stop second-guessing every decision. You stop measuring your timeline against someone else's highlight reel. Time slows down because your awareness sharpens. The tension begins to lift. You start realizing that the pressure you felt wasn't even real. It was just the weight of trying to keep up with a life that wasn't yours. You don't need to win fast. You don't need to catch up. You need to move with purpose. That means slowing down your busy mind. That means subtracting every unnecessary distraction. That means protecting your hour like it's sacred, because it truly is. Even one solid hour of focused, silent action every single day will put you far ahead of people who spend their whole day moving around in circles, going nowhere fast. You don't need a perfect schedule filled with plans and reminders. You need just 1 hour of real, undivided presence given fully to yourself. No phone, no multitasking, no background noise. Just simple, honest movement. One clear step at a time, done with full attention and care. Because while the world scrolls endlessly, you quietly train. While they gossip about others, you grow within yourself. While they chase validation from strangers, you build real, lasting value. While they speak loudly to be noticed, you move silently and get things done. And it's always the silent movers who end up becoming the loudest results in the end. You won't have to say much to prove your point. You won't have to prove much with words. Your life will speak for itself, louder than any explanation ever could. Your work will echo long after you stop talking about it. Because the man who doesn't react to every bit of noise is the one who quietly rises above it all. The man who no longer tries to be everywhere at once is the one who becomes truly unstoppable in one single direction. That's the real, meaningful difference between the two paths. That's the new definition of genuine, lasting progress. Subtraction. Remove the habits that quietly dilute your energy every single day. Remove the people who demand your time but never respect their own. Remove the constant checking on trends, on comments, on other people's opinions of you. Replace all of it with steady rhythm. Replace it with real, honest stillness. Replace it with work so pure and focused in nature that it becomes its own reward entirely. You're not falling behind anyone at all. You're just wasting valuable time on things that don't truly belong in your future anymore. Reclaim that hour fully for yourself every single day without fail. Make it completely non-negotiable, no matter what comes up. That's where you quietly separate yourself from everyone else, consistently, day after day, without needing to announce it. That's exactly where your advantage lies, not in raw talent, but in steady discipline built day after day. Not in speed, but in patient, deliberate silence held over time. Disciplined becoming. Everything you truly want in this life, the peace, the clarity, the power, and the purpose, is already within your reach, closer than you might think possible. But not through shortcuts, not through other people, and not through external noise of any kind. It's waiting patiently, just on the other side of discipline. Not rigid control, not harsh punishment, but real discipline, the kind that simplifies your entire world, the kind that brings you back to your own center, the kind that clearly separates the man who reacts from the man who leads. None of what you're truly seeking in life, the internal strength, the deep respect from others, the silence that doesn't collapse under pressure, comes from being seen by others. It comes from being genuinely still within yourself. It comes from you sitting down every single day without fail and honestly saying to yourself, I don't need noise, I need direction. That one small decision, repeated daily, slowly changes your entire rhythm of life. Because when you choose direction over distraction, everything else around you naturally starts to shift and settle. The wrong people quietly fall away on their own. The right habits lock firmly in place. And the chaos in your mind slowly begins to quiet down, little by little, day by day. Not because the world around you suddenly gets easier, but because your own focus gets stronger and sharper every single day. Most people leak their energy outward constantly without even realizing it's happening. They give their energy freely to everyone around them, their time to anything and everything that comes along, and their mind to whatever happens to be loud enough to grab it in the moment. And then they honestly sit and wonder why they feel so lost, so scattered, and so unfocused. But the reason everything falls into place once you finally start focusing inward isn't magic at all. It's simply momentum building over time. Life always flows naturally toward what is centered and calm within itself. It doesn't follow raw force or pressure. It doesn't respond well to desperation or urgency. It moves steadily and quietly toward calm, toward stillness, toward a direction that doesn't need to loudly announce itself to anyone. When your life becomes centered, steady, and truly disciplined, the right people, the right moments, and the right opportunities all begin to align naturally on their own, because you're no longer scattering your precious energy across things that don't really matter to you at all. This isn't just philosophy or theory sitting in a book somewhere. It's not empty motivational fluff meant to sound nice and inspiring for a moment. This is real, tangible practice, daily, unglamorous, repetitive practice that most people are simply not willing to do consistently. That means waking up before the world around you wakes up, before you get pulled fully into it and its demands. Wake up early for yourself first, above everything else. Move your body, not for aesthetics or how you look to others, but for real authority over yourself and your own life. The discipline to control your body trains your mind to control your reactions in every other area of life. Speak less than you're used to, day by day. Choose your words carefully and with real purpose behind them. Don't spill your precious energy trying to explain yourself to people who aren't even truly listening to you. Observe more than you speak in any given day. The man who watches carefully and patiently learns faster than the one who constantly talks, right? Reflect deeply and often on your own thoughts and choices. Make your inner world sharp and clear, not vague and foggy. Know exactly what you want out of life. Know exactly where you're heading and why. And most of all, refuse completely and firmly to give your energy to anything that quietly weakens you over time. That includes certain people, bad habits, negative thoughts, and old addictions you've been holding on to for far too long. Nothing beautiful or lasting ever gets built when the builder keeps handing his own tools away to the crowd around him. Take your tools firmly back into your own two hands. Use them wisely and with clear purpose. Build something real that truly lasts. You want lasting peace in your life? Earn it slowly, patiently through daily repetition, day after day. You want real, lasting power? Sharpen it patiently and quietly in silence, away from the crowd. You want true, deep purpose? Chase it steadily and calmly, 1 hour at a time, without rushing. Don't wait around for motivation to magically show up and carry you forward. You won't always have it close by, and that's completely okay. Discipline is what remains standing firm when motivation eventually fades and dies out. And that steady discipline, that quiet daily execution of your simple plan is what slowly starts building the version of you that no one can ever ignore again, no matter how hard they try. You don't need to tell anyone that you've changed. They'll naturally feel it in your posture, in your quiet energy, in the calm silence that surrounds you like a kind of armor. You move differently once you've trained consistently. You speak differently once you've truly listened. You walk differently when your mornings finally belong to you, not to your phone, not to the world around you, not to weak, impulsive decisions made in a rush. Everything you truly want in life is already patiently waiting for you on the other side of your excuses, on the other side of comfort and ease, on the other side of all that constant noise around you. All it asks of you in return is simple discipline. In the end, it really is quite simple and clear. Focus fully and completely on yourself. Train your silence like a real skill, and let everything else collapse naturally on its own. If you truly commit to this daily practice, really and fully commit to 1 full hour of daily silence every day, with no distractions pulling you away from it, everything in your life will gradually and steadily shift, not because you forced it to happen through sheer will, but because your energy finally became undeniable to everyone around you. If this message managed to genuinely cut through your noise today, subscribe now and start reclaiming your valuable time. And for those who are truly ready to go even deeper into this work, there's a course linked below to help you master your discipline and rebuild your presence from the inside out, one step at a time. You don't need more advice right now. You truly need more silence in your daily life. And once you fully return to it, everything will fall into